And so
Yeah, if you come again.
all I say just to finish is though I do biblical studies, I do also do Quranic studies, and what I just want people to know is that though I say these things, that scholars say these things about the New Testament, they do say these same things about the Quran. All right, so it's not like people just sit here and just think, oh, well, the Quran's this really, this document is just somehow there and they believe it's true. These things have come to light, especially in recent scholarship, where there's something called doublets in the Quran, where you'll get sayings like Surah 6 and then Surah 21, and they match. There's verses in that that just match, word for word identical, and scholars have come to the conclusion this is later redaction in one later Meccan verse to an earlier Meccan verse.
Which scholar in particular you're referring
to? So Gabriel Said Reynolds is probably the leading scholler on Islamic studies.
I know him. I know about him. I read his
scholar.
books, and I can engage with him on that. It's no problem.
Brilliant scholar. So all I'm saying they're true. What I'm saying is that though I say these things about the New Testament, these things are said about the Quran. And it's a minority view in scholarship that believe that the Quran thinks the Bible's corrupt, or the Gospels. It's a minority view. Most scholars that I'm engaged with don't think that at all. Especially Gabriel Said Reynolds, Helga Zelentine, Nikolai Sinai. These scholars don't seem to say that. They seem to say about later polemical works that say that.
But it has been always this Islamic scholarly tradition. If you were to read our scholarly works, this is where we engage with academics, and you can see how the academics are quite selective. In fact, recently on Quranic manuscript studies, we have very, very selectively biased scholars coming up, and we are engaging with them. So Gabriel Said Reynolds, his book recently on the Quran and his commentary on
the Bible, Quran and the Bible is a commentary.
Yeah. So it's not that he's immune from correction and so on. We can engage with him. But what I'm saying, I agree with you. Scholars have their own understanding of how they interpret and how they approach the Quranic text. But when it comes to the Islamic position on the corruption of the text, whether it was Gordon Nichols, for example, or others talking about
Gordon Nichols doesn't talk about the Quran.
I'm talking about the corruption of the biblical scripture.
But Gordon Nichols wrote about later polemical traditions, the tafsir literature. He didn't talk
We're talking about any scholars you're talking about. When we do holistic treatment of it, Islamic scholarship is such that from the companions and the students and so on, there has been a whole it's like a generations of Muslim scholarship on the understanding of the scriptural corruption of the New Testament and Old Testament text. But that's another discussion altogether.
The Hadith, the Hadith, I don't think we know anything really about Muhammad or anything.
Really?
No.
Who are you reading?
Not at all.
Who are you reading?
Well, most people think this.
Like who?
So even Angelica Neuwirth is even sceptical about the
That's not her field. She's a Quran expert.
Yeah. She still talks about the later. Oh, okay.
Who is the expert in Hadith that talks about this kind of revisionist view?
Okay, let's look. What about Goldsai, the Hungarian scholar, who wrote about the anachronistic?
That's the view we're talking about 100 years ago or more.
Goldsai's not 100 years ago.
Who?
Goldsai, the Hungarian scholar on Hadith. Even Motsky, even Harold Motsky.
What's the position of Motsky?
Motsky thinks that the Isnad chains can be used as a reliable source. But
reliable source of information.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean therefore he says it goes back to Muhammad.
I think there is a lot of for you to learn about the modern
works of Harold Motsky.
The Isnad come matan analysis.
Yes, he doesn't.
This is what is famous.
Harold Motsky does not say any. Even Jonathan Brown is reluctant to say that things go back to Muhammad.
What we're saying is that there was this idea that we can't trace this back anything, and you can't link this hadith until 250 years or so to the Prophet. Now we are from the Western Academia. They're going back to a closer to time. They say, you know what, up to Al-Zuhri maybe, because he's the common link and so on. So now it's no longer 250 years. We are, getting our information back closer and closer to the common link at least. And these common links, we're talking about people who are what? Within how many years?
But you're telling me that we know about Muhammad.
No,
so you're not actually proving that. You're saying, they can go back to that time.
What I'm saying is, at one point, like the revisionists, ultra-revisionists, revisionists, Patricia Crona, Michael Cook, and various others, people who had the one who...
Lulling.
No, I'm talking about...
John
Wansborough, this whole thing about things.
Christopher Luxemburg.
No. The one, Schacht.
Oh, right.
Schacht.
Yeah,
his views became very, very prominent. But now, not many people take his views very seriously because of Mustafa Azami and because of various others have demonstrated, now the understanding is much, much different than what it was before. So our hadith studies is not, hadith position is not such that, we cannot trust and rely anything from what the Muslim tradition has said. It is drastically different.
Let me give you one example of a hadith in Sahih Muslim. It's definitely not authentic. In the hadith, it talks about, I think it's a Muslim comes up to Muhammad and goes, Muhammad, I've been engaging with a Christian, and in there, and they basically said that Aaron lived 1,000 years before Mary, but in the Quran, it says that they're brother and sister. And Muhammad then goes, instead of saying, well, no, it's just meant to be as what we know in the Quran. Most think it's either a Mary typology, or it's talking about sisterhood coming through a covenant or something like that. He goes, what Jews used to do is they used to name their after prophets, and just said, it's just that Aaron was actually a sister. It's just that he's trying to say that this Aaron isn't not the Aaron who was with Moses, but there's two Aarons in the Quran. That's not.
Hang on. Let's deal with that very briefly.
That's not.
Let's deal with that.
But the thing is, that matches polemical.
Do you
discussions during the time period?
Let's understand something.
That's why that never went back to Muhammad.
No, I'll respond to that in various levels, from the typology and from history, from genealogy, if I may, very quickly and very briefly. Firstly, do we find names of people, for example, within the biblical literature, say the Old Testament and the New Testament, in which the same name can be found in genealogy, in various other genealogies in different time frame?
Yeah, I don't see that. Well, that's got to do
with One second. That means people would name individuals, not only a unique name in history. They can name individuals by the name of prophets and messengers or warners or pious people and so on. We find that in the genealogy of Christ, for example.
But that's not my point.
No, let me make... The Hadith simply says that people used to name their children and so on and so forth by the names of people of the past, righteous people, prophets and so on, right? Your name is Adam because there was a very important figure called Adam in history. So that it doesn't make somehow you are this Adam, that Adam. If you want to engage, you should simply say, look, we have historical evidence that Mary didn't have a brother called Aaron. Do you have any historical information in which Mary... Let me make my point first. To engage with this hadith, you should simply say, look, we have historical information in which we know the brothers and sisters of Mary, the mother of Christ, and the name of the brother or the uncle of Christ was not Aaron, was this and this. Do you have that information?
So you think that the Quran thinks that Mary had a biological brother called Aaron? But that's my point, is that it doesn't say that.
Adam, try to understand that. The hadith said what?
The hadith, it mentions...
What did the hadith respond to?
Don't worry about the name. I'm not interested. That's not my point.
No. People, listen, Adam. Adam. I want to understand from you what you understood by the hadith.
But you keep going, no.
The hadith, a group of Muslims came to the Prophet. That the Christians say this, and the Prophet explained. What is the explanation of the Prophet?
It's that he said that Aaron seems to be a biological relative of Mary, that there was some Aaron, not the Aaron of Moses, but there was an Aaron, as if there's two Aarons. There's an Aaron who was with Moses and an Aaron who was actually the relative of Mary. Because otherwise it makes no sense to take it any other way, because Muhammad actually states, they named prophets after prophets of old. So therefore it's...
in another word, the hadith says Mary had a physical brother called Aaron.
Yes.
Right. That's what I'm saying to you.
But the Quran doesn't say that.
The Quran simply says this. When she brought the baby, her community said, Ya ukhta Harun, oh, sister of Aaron, what have you done? This heinous thing that you brought. Your father wasn't this, your mother wasn't that, right?
The daughter of Imran.
Good.
Right. Yes.
No, Quran doesn't say daughter of Imran.
It does.
Ya ukhta Harun. No, not in this verse.
Yeah, it does say that.
No, in this interaction.
In that verse,
right. So let's deal with this verse as we're talking about in context. So our point is quite simple. People, for example, people would name their children by the names of the pious prophets. Like your name, Adam.
I don't actually think Jews
Like-
did that much in the first century. There's good evidence I think they
No,
didn't.
we have good evidence from the scripture that this is what happens repeatedly. People have names throughout in the genealogies which are repetition of the same name.
Have you? Okay, so,
Hang on.
just to quickly go, there's ossuaries now in that we can examine in Jerusalem. So Richard Borkham has done some really good work on this. In fact, there's hardly any names from first century Palestine that seem to be taken from older names. Like, I think some of the exceptions are like Jacob. But that happened more in the diaspora. If you actually go outside of Palestine, there's more names that seem to come from Old Testament, named after Old Testament prophets or within the Old Testament than you do find in first century Palestine.
In the genealogy of Jesus, do you know how many names we can find them in the Old Testament?
Yeah, but that's nothing to do with the first century Palestine.
No. And the people are. Is Jesus a unique name, for example? Let's talk about his name.
Jesus just comes from Joshua.
Well, not really necessarily.
Okay. All right.
Anyway, this is a different discussion. Mary, is that a unique name?
In what sense is it unique? What do you mean? Every name's unique.
There's no one else called Mary ever.
Yes, but you're
Fine. Let me take it slowly. If Mary, the mother of Christ, if her name Mary or Miriam or Mariam, if that wasn't a unique name, why was she called Mariam? Why would people name her Mariam?
I don't know. Well, what's that got to do with anything?
So people can name their children.
Yes, they can.
Good.
I'm not saying
So
that.
we are saying the Quran or the Hadith, if you were to understand it literally, it can only point to, if you don't take a metaphorical understanding, figurative understanding of why these people are saying, oh, Ya Ukhta Harun, oh, sister of Aaron.
Yeah.
Let's take it literally. So according to this understanding, Mary had a brother called Aaron. Now, what's your problem?
So, well, first of all, Aaron is also called the brother. If we just look at the Quran, there's only one Aaron in the Quran, and it's the brother of Moses, and also called the sister of Mary, brother and sister of Mary. Now, I don't think that the Quran is making an historical error here at all. I think it's using a type of Mary typology, which is trying to show that just as Aaron was in the temple and was part of the sanctuary, Mary comes through that line, which is why it calls sister and brother, and we see that in the Quran. I don't think the Quran is historically inaccurate at all there with its language, not at all.
Yeah.
And I don't think any scholar thinks that at all.
But my question was different. If Mary had a brother called Aaron, what's the problem?
Is that the problem is that the response in the Hadith, okay, from
It's exactly
Muhammad
saying that.
is Muhammad.
That people is to name the name.
Just listen to my point.
Go ahead. I've listened to you already, my friend. Explain again.
Is the Hadith is in response to Christians that are saying Mary is the brother, okay, sister of Aaron in the Quran. Okay,
Not Aaron the prophet.
Aaron the prophet.
No.
It is. It is. Why on earth would they then go and say, no, listen, because there is that, because they then go and say in that same Hadith, say,
And what was the response of the prophet?
no, the Christian, because the Muslim was then said to Muhammad, because they said that Aaron lived 1,000 years
Yes,
prior.
carry on.
So it's talking about the Quran.
And the response of the prophet was?
Which goes, no, hang on a minute, he said. No, that's not true. Because they named the prophets after old. Mary was just his brother, like a genetical brother. They were brother and sister. As in Aaron was living in the time.
The same Aaron?
Yes.
No. This is where you misunderstood the hadith. Let me tell you, you want to say hadith and Muslim, you want to say not authentic, you've misunderstood it. The hadith is simply saying, Mary had a brother called Aaron who was named after that prophet. As simple as that.
The Quran never says that though.
Hang on. We're talking about the hadith.
Yes, but the Quran never mentions
Wait, please,
any other Aaron.
please. Let's try to understand. I mean, you're coming from like a very, very narrow understanding of things. What I'm saying is this. I'm telling you.
Okay, go on.
Hadith explains, the Prophet said that the brother called Aaron, Mary had, is not the same Aaron, the brother of Moses, the Prophet. This is a brother contemporaneous to Mary, her own brother, and he was named after the Prophet Aaron. So that's the issue. So thousands of years apart doesn't matter because he has a brother called Aaron only. He could have had any name, but his only similarity is by the name. The Quran does not. Here is now my level from typological argument and genealogical argument. Every verses that Quran talks about Mary, Aaron, Moses, and Jesus, you will never find anywhere Jesus Christ is identified to be contemporary of Moses with Aaron.
No, I know.
Yeah, so that demonstrates what? that when the people said, Ya Ukhta Harun, it's them accusing it. They could have said, oh, the brother of Solomon. They could have said anything. This is only this statement coming from the Jewish people of her time. They are saying, you this, then that, oh, the brother of Solomon. They could have done that. The Quran isn't saying, you are the brother of Solomon. So, Ya Ukhta Harun, the sister of Aaron, is what they uttered. But even if that was literally true, it can only mean that she had a brother called Aaron. And now here's my counter challenge to those people who say, oh, there's a historical error. Where do you find historical narrations that contradicts that? That Mary had a brother called John, not Aaron, or didn't have a brother whatsoever. You don't have that historical information.
No, we don't.
Quran is giving, if you take that literally, an extra layer of information about the brother of Mary. Simple as that.
No, I agree with that. I'm not trying to talk about whether or not she had a brother or anything like that. My point is the Quran never says anything about Mary having a brother called Aaron. And that Aaron in the Quran, there's only one Aaron, and it's the brother of and it's the brother of Mary. They're called that they are brother and sister, but it's a typology. It's not to say that they are physically brother and sister. And then a later hadith comes along and says, no, they are biologically related, they are brother and sister. I don't think that hadith is true.
You see, when you say they're late, you see, you are understanding the hadith based on your presumption that this is a typology. Isn't it?
What? That was a typology. As in the Quran's a typology?
No. You are basing the rejection or acceptance of a hadith based on your presumption that what the Quran says is actually typology. It is not a historical encounter of she had a brother called Aaron. It's only a phrase that is used to understand the relationship between this. That is your presumption.
So do you think that Mary in the Quran had a brother, physical brother, biological brother called Aaron?
I am saying two possibilities. One, she has a physical brother. Secondly, I'm giving you all the possible interpretations because we have to look at how we interpret the Quran. So when a group of people came and said, "Oh ya Ukhta Harun," we can take that as a literal statement, or we can take that as a figurative statement. Okay? So a large group of people may have taken that as a figurative statement, but you cannot necessarily say this has nothing to do with a literal understanding as well. There's always going to be an element where it could be literally true. That's why they came and said, what have you done? Yeah, sister of Aaron. Even if we take that, you can see the hadith explains that. Do you see that point? But the hadith explains that.
But you cannot take that. If you're going to say that the Quran has a literal perspective of Mary and Aaron being related biologically.
Mary and which Aaron?
Then the Quran never gives two Aarons. It only gives one.
No, that is why you're mistaken. You assume. I'm telling you, David. You're assuming the Aaron they speak about is the Aaron, the brother of Moses. That is your assumption.
But it says that in the Quran. It says that
what?
Aaron was with Moses. It talks about Aaron being with Moses. It talks about them with Pharaoh, and then it says that same Aaron was related.
This
to
is not
Mary.
the same Aaron. Quran is talking about.
How do you know that? All right.
Because the Quran, because the people are saying to Mary, sister of Aaron.
Yes.
But you are making this link. It's the same Aaron.
Why would the Quran go and say sister of Aaron, and then it'd be some randomer? It never mentions at all of another Aaron. What the hell would that mean to anyone?
If you read the story of Moses,
you conflict and conflate two Aarons and make it into one.
No,
that is your problem,
the
not mine.
The reason why I think you're doing it is because you have to have the Quran being correct. It can't have errors.
No, I'm saying the Quran doesn't demonstrate that this is the same Aaron. It simply talks about an Aaron. You're making this assumption, which is faulty, that it refers to the same Aaron, which is the brother of Moses. This is an assumption. What is your evidence?
So it then calls Mary the daughter of Imran, and it also calls Mary. It also calls Mary the daughter of Imran, and Imran is the.
Let's move on to the next point. Are you saying the daughter of Imran? In fact, the mother of Mary, her name wasn't. Her father's name wasn't Imran.
No, but then it also calls Aaron as being the son of him. No, Moses being. It's either Aaron or Moses being of Imran. What
I am saying. In this understanding, Mary, the mother of Christ, so we know who we're talking about, has a brother called Aaron and a father called Imran.
Yeah, but Imran is not from that period.
Please, listen to the argument. You want to go for Yes, and you can take over, inshallah. This father is not the Imran of earlier times. You are conflating two Imrans into one, you're conflating two Haruns into one. I recommend you to listen to a very interesting video made by one of our brothers called Sadat. He called that Canadian brother in the YouTube. And he has given those typologies where, there's several groups of people within this, and they're similar to names before. And if you were to then say this is the same as the other one, you'll be at a mess. Because people in the past can name and have similar names. For example,
Moses is talking to his brother and he calls him, "Oh brother of, oh son of my mother." It's blatant.
so if I have to, okay, Adam, my last point before I
Sorry, he's
need
just asked me to research. So
Okay,
Just to make it
sorry,
clear.
I
Because
apologize.
in the Quran,
Read it.
When Musa is talking to his brother, he says, "Yabna oh son of my mother." So I'm just showing it to him in English so he knows that that's not the same one. But is that convincing, or they're two different Aarons?
If I have two children called Ishmael and Isaac, what's my name?
My name's Adam.
No, if I have two children called Ishmael and Isaac, what's my name?
Ibrahim.
it's even Moses saying it.
We haven't said your name.
You said Ibrahim, and you said you don't talk my name. Do you see the presumption? You assumed I'm talking about those Ishmael and Isaac, and that's how you said Ibrahim. False assumption. Precisely the point I'm making. Because
Moses is long dead, and so is his brother. So it's impossible to be the same Aaron.
do you see when you answered saying Ibrahim, you assumed my sons are those prophets, and that means I am the prophet Ibrahim. I didn't give him right. I can have. In fact,
Let me respond to him.
Yeah.
Adam. Between Moses down to Jesus, and that Mary comes through this line, and there is, So then you have Aaron that's in the sanctuary.
Yeah, alhamdulillah.
It's about to be in the Quran, and Mary takes over in the sanctuary in the Quran.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
there seems
we
to
can
be
leave
this
that
Mary
mention.
Why, he doesn't want to be on
typology
the
that
camera?
The reason says sister.
No, just yourself.
It's because not because there's a biological relationship, it's because there's a covenant relationship.
No, because he was right. When he was
Apologies, I have to go and pray. But you can continue talking to my brother here, okay? Adam?
I'll just say
are
something
you-
and then you can carry
Yeah,
on.
sure,
But
sure.
Basically, if you give the Quran the correct reading, God is basically saying the Jews were saying to Mary, "Ya Ukht Harun, oh sister of Aaron." So the Jews were telling her that. So it's impossible to be the same Aaron as the Moses.
Yeah,
one.
because but
Did you see? I'm just splitting it for you.
I know. It's not.
So
I'm
there's
not
no
saying,
mistake in the
but
Quran.
when you say that it's a sister of Aaron, it's not because I think that the Quran thinks it's a biological sister.
No, the Quran is just stating what the Jews said.
Yeah,
It's as simple as that.
The important thing is the Quran did not say sister of Moses. Why does the Quran say sister of
but it does
Aaron?
call on the daughter of Imran, and Imran.
No, let's stick to one topic. Adam, let's stick to one topic. Why did the Quran say sister of Aaron and not sister of Moses?
Why can't it just be there's an error? Why is it always got to be you go flapping around to? Why can't it just be look? It made a mistake. It's the easiest.
No, it's not a mistake. That's the reason.
Maybe you're the one who made the mistake.
Yeah, you're the one. You need to understand why.
Look, I'm happy to accept there's errors in history with the New Testament, with anything. The only people that
So
say
you
there's
believe
not-
there are errors in the New
Of
Testament?
course, there are errors in the New Testament, historical errors.
Do you know the New Testament uses the same language about the daughters of Aaron?
Sorry.
The New Testament uses the same language regarding the daughters of Aaron.
Yes.
In Luke chapter 1,
Yes.
verse number 5.
Yes.
Do you know who was Aaron?
Yeah, it was the brother of Moses.
Just the brother? Did he have any significance?
Well, he's part of the temple, and that's about it. Not.
He is from the priestly tribe.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so these priestly tribe, for example, Elizabeth and Mary were cousins, right?
That's right.
They were first cousins.
To Luke, yes.
And they were
To Luke.
they're both regarded as the daughters of Aaron.
Yes.
Even though they live.
Yes, but I'm not saying they're biological. You
No,
keep-
but no one. The Quran doesn't say biological.
No, that's what I'm trying to say to him. They're not biological.
Which ones?
So I'm trying to.
So who is saying biological?
If you
It's a straw
say-
man.
Is the
With regards to the sister of Aaron, is it biological?
No.
Exactly.
That's
So
not
why
what I'm
making
saying
a
at
straw
all.
man argument?
Because the point, but because I'm trying to say is that there's one Aaron in the Quran.
Adam, who is making the claim that this is a biological relationship?
Your friend who was sat here. He was trying to say that Mary had an actual brother called Aaron.
Yeah, but that's a different Aaron.
To defend him.
We are talking about the sister of Aaron in the case of
So you're trying to
the
say
brother
that
of
the
Moses.
Quran talks about two Aarons.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I just showed
Why
you.
can't there be more than one Aaron?
Say that.
Wait.
You
Why
showed
can't
me
there
one
be-
verse that said that Aaron was the sister of Moses was. With
Yeah, the brother of
yeah.
Moses.
But
Right.
then-
So
okay,
and then
so-
I explained to you that the verse that you saw in the Quran that's referring to the Jews saying, "Oh, sister of Aaron," it's
Yes.
impossible to be the same Aaron as the other one.
Why is it?
Because Mary lived long after Moses
Exactly.
died.
But then
Precisely.
in Luke, right,
Yeah.
he just then said
Yeah.
how they called Aaron.
I'm just
yeah.
trying to clear up one confusion. They're not the same Aaron. That's a
Yes.
really simple thing.
Yeah,
to-
it's not biological relation as you're saying. It's a lineage rather. So
It's a
when
type
you speak about certain things, for example, in Hebrew and in Arabic, these are common idioms to call them after the lineage of someone who is well known or respectful or righteous person. And the same reason, that's the reason you see in Luke 1:5, where it's called the daughters of Aaron. Shall I read it for you? It says, it happened that in the days of Herod, king of Judea, there was a certain priest, Zachariah by name, of the division of Abijah. And he had a wife from the daughters of Aaron.
Yes.
Yes? And her name was Elizabeth. Elizabeth was who?
That was the mother of John the Baptist.
Absolutely. And Elizabeth was the first cousin of Mary.
That's right.
So they both called from the daughters of Aaron. Even though they are not literally the daughters of
But
Aaron.
that's the point. That's just refutes your argument, though, because remember
I
you.
didn't even make an argument. I'm just trying to say they're not the same.
No, but it
They're not
is.
the same
He never
one.
said it's biological. You're the one making that
they're
claim.
not the same.
But no, but the
Married.
point is that even the Luke here is saying that it's because you're saying, but look, Luke goes back in time and says this is the daughters of Aaron,
Yeah,
right?
it's a figure of speech.
Yes, so that's what I'm saying. But the Quran does as well when it says about.
So we are saying.
It's talking. It's
So then we agree then. Yeah?
Yes.
It's telling you.
Yes.
So the Quran is saying what the Jews said. So
Yes.
how is the Quran wrong?
Because
It's just saying
So-
this
so
is what
Adam-
the Jews
it's
said.
because were you here when we were talking about Hadith?
Yeah, no, I wasn't.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
go on.
if I talk, that's probably why some people are getting confused.
Okay,
There was
go
a
on
later, there was a later hadith.
Yeah.
Okay, where a Muslim guy in Sahih Muslim comes over to Muhammad and says, I was speaking to Jews, and they were saying that in the Quran it confuses Aaron, but because Aaron lived 2,000 years ago, so how can it be that they were Mary and Aaron were brother and sister? Okay, and Muhammad's response was not by saying, there was a typology or he goes on, no, that they're just wrong. Mary and Aaron were biologically related, and Mary, they just named themselves after prophets.
No. It didn't say biological related. The term biological related could not be in the hadith.
It does say that because it
says lineage.
Just listen,
Let's be clear.
Just listen, but it doesn't because I can refute that point.
What you can refute?
Because it says they named them after prophets of old.
Exactly.
Why would it then say that?
Your
about
name is
something in
Adam.
the
Your
past?
name after a prophet. of
Yes,
Islam.
but in the present about the past. About the past.
Yeah, Adam was in the past.
So
you're in the future, but you're still named after a
but
prophet.
It's because therefore Mary.
OMG,
has to be
I can't
something
believe you
about
can't
Mary in
understand
the
that
present.
simple
being
point.
called, having a brother called Aaron, because he was because.
Adam, let's be
someone
fair.
about
You're
the
making
past.
false accusations
No, I can-
about
it's
biological relation when the hadith says
Read the
lineage.
hadith and you'll see what
Yeah,
I
the hadith says lineage, not biological relation.
Even if
Okay?
they were related by lineage, what's the
Yeah.
problem?
No,
I can't see
I'm not saying there's any problem with the Quran.
There you go. Then there is no problem.
Okay, wait,
Alhamdulillah.
so what is it?